All right, and we are live, everyone. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much to Chase, to Joshua Roman. What an incredible performance. I'm your host, Kenna Klosterman, coming to you from Whidbey Island, which is a couple hours north of our Seattle studios, where I live. I'm just going to check with my team to make sure that they are seeing me live. And yep, sounds like we are good to go. What an incredible time, also an innovative time as we are able to bring amazing content to you today with our launch of CreativeLive TV, which is going to be streaming 24/7, and we are grateful for all of you tuning in today. I'm super excited to come to you here from my home and to bring to you today for the next hour before our programming continues here on creativelive.com/TV or wherever it is that you're watching. And so my guest right now for the next hour with you is Cristina Mittermeier. And she is joining us via Skype, of course, from her home. Cristina is a National Geographic photographer. She founded the International League of Conservation Photographers. She is a Sony artisan. She is the co-founder of SeaLegacy, and one of the things that she has been doing during this time is creating something called Ocean School, #Ocean School. We'll be talking about that and how tons of people around the world are learning about our oceans, learning about the importance of what we can do as humans for our planet. So we're going to take you on a slideshow journey. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Cristina Mittermeier. And thanks, everyone. I'm doing all the broadcasting and everything from home, switching it all around. So hopefully it is good to go for all of you. So let's bring on Cristina Mittermeier. Cristina, there you
Hey, Kenna.
are. Let's see. How are you doing right now? I hope that you and your family, your partner Paul, that everyone, the SeaLegacy team are safe and healthy.
Everybody's safe and healthy. We self quarantine, isolated early on. So this is my fourth week. I had been in New York doing talks and shaking the hands of thousands of people. And when the first news of the virus started to come out, I thought, oh, I better go home. And so I've been here.
And so let's talk about, well, let's tell us about, before we get into the images, just tell us a little bit about yourself for those of you who don't know you, the people that are tuning in, and about why you created, along with Paul, SeaLegacy and what the mission is, and then we'll dive more into Ocean School.
Sure. I'm a Mexican marine biologist, first and foremost, and I studied fisheries and aquaculture in university. And early on in my life, I learned just how unsustainable the way it is that we treat the ocean. And I wanted to do something about it. So I became a communicator, first using photography and then becoming a public speaker, the leader of a nonprofit organization, trying to use my skills as a communicator and storyteller to bring more people into the story of our oceans.
And you do that so well. I had the pleasure of having you on our podcast, We Are Photographers, and you took us into the depths of the oceans and far remote places everywhere. And so I want to give some shout outs for starters to the people who are tuning in online. We have people who are with us on creativelive.com/TV, and that is where you can join the chat room there. We also have people watching on YouTube on your Facebook page, Cristina.
Oh,
So we've
great.
got hi from London from Paula. We have Ashkay, who is tuning in from India, saying India is closed. We have Fernando tuning in from Spain and Mark from Florida. So we're thinking about all of you everywhere, wherever you are at home. And one of the things, Cristina, one of the reasons why we wanted to bring you on today is that the natural world out there is what is bringing me so much calm. And so how are you reconnecting? I mean, the oceans and the world and the natural world is sort of your life in general, but how are you connecting with nature in this time?
I'm reconnecting with my backyard, really, because I spend so much time outdoors for my work. And I am just in awe that I get to spend this time at home and doing a little bit of gardening. I am enjoying, starting to figure out my bird feeders, and I've got birds nesting everywhere. It's absolutely beautiful in Vancouver Island, and just going out for walks. And I gave up a dive with Paul Nicklin to be here with you. I can see where he's diving in the Strait of Georgia, looking for herring eggs right now. So we're diving and we're just spending time at home.
Well, my goodness, on behalf of everybody who's watching right now live, thank you for giving up that dive. So let's talk a little bit about what SeaLegacy is again. And then I want to take everybody to this place of calmness by playing a video that you have made with SeaLegacy. But tell us again more about SeaLegacy.
When Paul and I were on assignment for National Geographic nonstop, we were able to bear witness firsthand to just how much we victimize the ocean, just the amount of pollutants and stuff that we're dumping into the ocean, and the amount of animals that we're taking out. And we knew that we needed to do more than just tell stories for National Geographic. And in order to have control of how the stories are told, how the campaigns that we do take place, we decided to create our own nonprofit organization. And in the beginning, it was just about posting on our social media, which is our biggest platform. But little by little, we understood that the people that follow us, they don't just want to be entertained. They don't just want to like or share our photos. They want to know how they can help. And so we have been immersed in the world of finding solutions that people can actually interact with. And we're in the midst of building this beautiful, big platform that's going to be populated by stories, but it's going to have many opportunities for people to take action every day, whether it is signing petitions or donating or just interacting with a larger community of ocean advocates. And it's super exciting because I never imagined that there was going to be this type of response. But I think there's a lot of people on this planet that recognize themselves as ocean creatures, and this is our audience.
And so talk to me about the idea then for Ocean School and what you've been doing with it and what the response has been.
Well, being stuck at home the first couple of days, super selfish, just delighting in the fact that you don't have to go to work and you don't have to, get dressed for a meeting. But then as the days went by and you start listening in the news, just how serious the situation is. And it's not just the enormous economic strife that families are facing, just the devastating, reality that so many of our loved ones and friends are sick and maybe dying. It's also, a little bit of empathy, because as a parent, I remember just how big a struggle it is when schools are canceled for whatever reason and you find yourself stuck at home with 3 or 4 little ones, or even just 1 or 2. And how do you keep them busy? And I remember my struggle as a young mother, trying to keep them off the TV and keeping them entertained with whatever activities. And I thought, we can use our social media to share a little bit of a lesson, super simple, on how do we become better ocean creatures, and just sharing our knowledge with pictures, with photographs, with interesting stories, and inviting people to join us at least once a day to share into this ocean knowledge. But the deeper reason why we're doing this, Kenna, is because people don't realize that this pandemic, the source of this virus, has come exactly from the conflictive relationship we have with nature. The virus jumped from animals in the wild to humans, from markets in China where wildlife is being traded. And so I find this an opportunity to remind us of just how important it is that we maintain the integrity of our natural world if we want to prevent the next pandemic.
Cristina, thank you. I think that's an incredibly important point, and what all of us are trying to learn and understand what is going on with the pandemic, understand the science, understand what it means for us and our families. So there's just so many different things to pay attention to and learn about. And what I think you bring up such an amazing point again, and part of one of the things I read is about how, Ocean School is not just about the facts, but also about finding ways to be better humans during these difficult times, something that you wrote on one of your posts. And so part of that and part of your mission overall is the way that humans interact with the rest of the planet, specifically oceans. And so let's take people on a little journey. We'll give you guys some breathing space for a second in this video that is filmed up in British Columbia. Is that correct? I didn't even ask you where are you joining us from?
I am joining you from beautiful Vancouver Island. From this window, I can see the mainland, the mainland of British Columbia, and I'm just north of Nanaimo.
So beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so here is a piece for all of you to take a deep breath with us and enjoy some nature. It just allows me to take a deep breath. How did you first get involved in again, oceans being your thing? I'm just going to take a step back because you are a marine biologist and all of that. I mean, you are so connected, whether it's people in the oceans or you in the oceans.
It's interesting because I grew up in the mountains of central Mexico and not really anywhere close to the ocean. And my dad grew up in a small community in the Gulf of Mexico, which is an oil producing community, like a very large region with a lot of oil activity. So when I would go to the beach as a little girl, my mom had to bring gasoline to clean up the globs of petroleum off of our feet. Those were my first interactions with the ocean. But I think it was reading books and looking at magazines. And Jacques Cousteau was a big thing when I was growing up. National Geographic was a big thing. And reading pirate books. And I just imagined myself having this life of adventure, spending time with whales and swimming with dolphins. And I didn't know how to make it happen. But I do know that if you are willing to dream big and follow those dreams, you can almost certainly make anything happen. So here I am, little girl from Mexico, having the career that I dream of.
Thank you for that. And it's true. This is actually a time to remind ourselves that we can pursue our dreams, even under difficult constraints is when people become and get more creative. So yeah. Let's start looking at images. Let's take people around the world in this time where everybody is, pretty much homebound. And let's do some live ocean school. How about that?
I love it. Yes.
Okay, so everyone, again, if you are just joining us right now, I'm here with Cristina Mittermeier, National Geographic photographer, co-founder of SeaLegacy, and we haven't even told people what your Instagram handle is for them to join Ocean School. So it's at Mitty, Mitty, and then at SeaLegacy. How did you get? Do everybody just call you Mitty, or your close friends? Is that because it used to be your full name?
Yeah, my full name is a handful to spell and pronounce. So a lot of my friends call me Mitty. Paul, my partner, calls me Mitty. And I just thought, I'd have to make it easier for people to find me and remember me. And Mitty used to be the name of my ex-husband's father's first business. He came as an immigrant from Germany to the United States, and he had a little business in Brooklyn called Mitty Stamp Trading Company. And so I thought, Mitty's cute.
It is super cute. So at Mitty, everyone, join the over 1.3 million people that are following Cristina. She is making an incredible impact with everything that she does. Okay, so Cristina, I'm going to switch over here and pull up our first image. And Ocean School, here we go. Tell us about where we are and this beautiful creature.
Yeah, this is surprisingly in the Caribbean. It's off of the island of Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic. And it's a shallow area called the Silverbank, where humpback whales bring their calves little to spend time. They nurse them, they rest, they get them ready for the long migration that they carry to northern Norway, to Greenland, when these animals have to move to their feeding grounds. And so we have been going to the Silverbank for a few years just to spend time with these mothers and calves. And the calves in particular are they are born pretty big, as you can imagine, a big whale. And when the mother goes down for a nap, she usually rests down in the bottom about 60 feet deep. And oftentimes baby doesn't want to sleep. So baby will come up to the surface and be curious and get close to you and come and try to figure out what you are. And it's pretty cute. Humpback whales are vulnerable because attack baby humpback whales. So the Silverbank offers them a place where they can be in safety and sheltered in place.
What a beautiful creature. And I'm just going to want to check in with everybody. I got some notes from people that my audio was a little bit different. So hopefully, again, thanks for bearing with me, everyone, as we bring you from my home studio. So let me know, everybody, if the sound is now a little bit better, but thank you all. So let's go to the next spot. We're going to now travel to this image. Just makes me smile.
You know what this is? This is in the Antarctic Peninsula, and this little creature is actually pretty big. It's a baby elephant seal. They call them weaners because when they're born, they only spend about 18 days with their mom, and she nurses them with this very rich milk. So the baby grows very quickly, and after 18 days, mom goes back to the ocean and leaves baby, abandons him. And so these weaners are on the beach and they are still babies, they're lonely. And so they get close to the penguins, they get close to people, they just want to hang out. They don't want to be alone. And, the Antarctic Peninsula is such an important place because it's very productive. It has rich waters that are loaded with krill, which is what a lot of these animals eat. And this is a place where the waters are calm in general, and there's a lot of places for animals to rest. So it's like a giant nursery. You get a lot of baby penguins, a lot of baby elephant seals. It's just an overload of cuteness.
It is a serious overload of cuteness. And I want to let everybody know, whether you are tuning in and joining Cristina Mittermeier and I on creativelive.com/TV or on any of the YouTube or Facebook. I have an aggregation of the comments that are coming in. So I'm seeing what you all are saying. I would love to hear if you have any questions for Cristina as well as we go through this. Mm-hmm. Any questions about the oceans or what have you. So keep those coming in. We have Anna, who is tuning in from Iceland, and Gina on YouTube, who had said, thank you for speaking out about the truth of the disconnection that humans have with nature. So important right now. All right, so I am going to flip on back over and let's continue going through Ocean School. Sharks. Most people think sharks are super scary. Are they, for real?
I've never had a scary encounter with a shark. I think humans are way more scary for sharks than us for them. On average, we kill 70 million sharks a year. And these animals are really important to maintain the health of the ecosystem. But in places like this, in the Bahamas, where I took this photograph of this blacktip reef shark, sharks play another very important role because they support the dive industry. So divers will pay money to come to places like this where sharks are not hunted, to spend time, to take a few pictures, to just delight in the company of these very, very special animals. And in the Bahamas, shark diving industry alone brings in close to $120 million a year. So it's a significant amount of money, which should tell us all that keeping sharks alive is far more important from an economic standpoint, not just from a moral and empathetic one, than killing them, really. So we should do everything we can to protect sharks around the world. If we want to have a living ocean, we need to keep sharks alive.
It's so interesting that there's so many things out there in the world that we fear as humans, and yet we don't really stop and consider that they should be more fearful of us. And I feel like sharks are certainly one of those creatures. And I think, a question had come in, and I know you speak a lot about this in terms of, I know we had a conversation on the podcast in terms of finding diving sites or places to go swim with whales. So, the question from Jonathan Haber was, what are your thoughts on ecotourism? Is the increase in the numbers of visitors, such as areas of Antarctica, Galapagos, helping or hurting? So talk to us about ecotourism and what the pros and cons.
Ecotourism is a double-edged sword because in many places, having this income from tourists is a far better alternative than, surrendering to mining or to industrial fishing or to oil exploration. So bringing in tourists generally is a very good idea. It has to be done carefully. If you don't pay a lot of attention to the regulations, the loopholes, and just the general nature of human beings who are greedy and short-sighted, ecotourism can go around the edge and become a really bad thing. So there's great examples of where it's being done properly. And there's other examples where it started out as a really bad thing and slowly champions and, that are bringing regulation have made it into something better. A lot of people think that we should just leave nature alone. And in an ideal world, I would agree with that. But I think for a lot of communities where there's no other alternative, tourism is a much better choice than any of these other biggest extractive industries. It's just, as consumers, as travelers, it's upon us to make sure that wherever we're going, we are not part of the problem. And so finding those providers that are doing it from a moral and empathetic and caring point of view is the most important thing we can do. Just educate ourselves.
Thank you. Yes. Doing your research and finding out who's doing it right and who's not. And really, really doing the research. Okay, so let's go. Let's see where our next image is going to take us for Ocean School. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Well, this is one of those, right? This is a baby harp seal, and I photographed this little guy in the Ile de la Madeleine in Quebec. Which is a beautiful area in the early spring, right about this time of year. The mothers come onto the sea ice, so the ocean has frozen over, and they sit on that platform of ice, and that's where they give birth to their pups. And in the years when climate change has made the ice really unstable, and there's not enough ice for these mothers to give birth in a safe place, the population really diminishes. But on the years when the ice is thick and stable, you get lots of these pups. Traditionally, in this part of Canada, there's been, it used to be a home industry where the local people would go out and hunt a few of these baby seals to make coats. They use the fur and the meat. And then it became an industrial commercial thing where they would export the fur. And anytime you turn an animal into a commercial international commodity, you can almost guarantee that there's going to be a big, big problem for that creature because there's just too many humans on this planet, and we cannot, there's no aspect of nature that can support industrial or commercial hunting of any creature. And so there's been a lot of controversy around the hunting of these little animals. there's a budding ecotourism industry that's emerging, and some of the old hunters are turning their boats now into ecotourism platforms, and they're taking people to spend time with these babies. And if we choose to go with these operators and support their livelihood with our tourism dollars, we're going to be helping them make a living without having to hunt the seals, which is so sad. The babies are so cute.
Babies everywhere are so cute.
So cute.
But
so cute. And these hunts are always so controversial, you know?
Yeah. So let's take a pause and tell me about what you have been hearing from people as you've been putting more information out there about the oceans, what the response has been. Have you heard people are sharing it with their kids, using it as a way to keep them entertained? Tell us more about the reaction.
I think my favorite thing about Ocean School are the teachers. There's heroic teachers around the planet, and they're using Ocean School to engage with their students on online courses. So it's everything from a challenge to a classroom to caption a photograph, and the teacher is looking for the proper grammar, the proper, a construction of a sentence. Others are printing some of the pictures and having the kids download them to color them. And the requests that we're getting on the comments are beautiful, the things that the children are interested in. And it's just such a joy, because when I think about my Instagram account, I've always treated it as an opportunity to share every day a little bit of a tidbit of how to be a good citizen on this planet. And Ocean School allows us just to do it in a more formal way, and to spend this time at home being productive and trying to be creative and trying to engage with the comments. And I think if we can help young children especially understand why this planet is an ocean planet, it's going to be a more hopeful place when they grow up.
And tell me more about what you mean that we're an ocean planet. Like, maybe people don't even understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, I often imagine a spaceship arriving on planet Earth. These are aliens, and when they first look at our planet from space, they see this blue bubble where 75% of the ocean is covered. The planet is covered in oceans. And they would, of course, assume that this is an ocean planet, and every creature on this planet clearly is tied to the ocean, because it doesn't matter where you live on planet Earth. Every other breath you take comes from the sea. Half of the oxygen on our planet is produced by phytoplankton in the ocean. And when I think about the ocean, I don't think about water. It's more of this living broth where you have tons of microorganisms that are creating the chemistry of our planet. They produce the oxygen, the ocean absorbs the carbon dioxide, it moderates the climate. It's without a living ocean, this planet would be a desert, not very different from Mars. And so just because we don't see what's underneath the thin blue line at the surface doesn't mean that it is not the most important ecosystem on our planet. And I think as humans, because we're terrestrial, we feel ourselves separate and different from the ocean. But make no mistake, we are all ocean creatures.
I love your concept of the thin blue line, and that it is just a thin blue line. And just thinking about the fact that we are mostly water ourselves, but you're right. Typically when you think about the ocean, I do think about the water part first, versus it being this steaming, brewing stew. Mm-hmm. I love that. Of course, very much living. And we have a person commenting, Gina Rue, who's saying, no water, no life. That's exactly it.
So true. So true. So every time you go to the beach and, the waves take you for a roll and you take a big gulp of water, you have swallowed hundreds of thousands of microbes and microorganisms and plankton that are the key to keeping a living ocean.
Mm. Well, let's go back.
Protein.
Let's go back to...
Well, this is right here. This is in front of my house, and this is a sea lion, a California sea lion. And they in the spring at this time of year, they return from their southern reaches and from Alaska, and they come here because the herring, the schools of herring, these little silverfish, come back to this area to spawn. And a couple of weeks ago, if you follow me on Instagram, you should have seen my stories of when I looked out the window and the herring had spawned and the water was white. And then all the animals, it's like this frenzy. The eagles and the seagulls and the sea lions are there to feed on the eggs and on the fish. And that's why Paul is diving out there today, because these little eggs that were fertilized a couple of weeks ago are going to hatch into tiny little fish any day now. And we want to be there with our cameras. And the sea lion here, if you look underneath, there's all these little green urchins. And that is a sign of an ecosystem that's out of balance. We used to have incredibly beautiful kelp forest all up and down the British Columbia coast. But with a change in chemistry, the change in the predator composition, the change in temperatures, you get species like these green urchin that overpopulate, and they basically have devoured the kelp forest. So if we can find ways to bring balance back to these ecosystems, that's the only way that we can guarantee the health of our planet and the health of humanity.
How do you go about learning all of these?
It's a lifetime, Jenna.
All of these different places, and talk to me more about the team at SeaLegacy and all the people that are working together on your mission, not just creating beautiful images, but using those images to create impact and actually change laws and things like that that have been happening.
So SeaLegacy, we're part of a larger group called Only One, and we work very closely with Lonely Whale, and they're a wonderful organization that specializes on ocean plastic. And then we also work really closely with the Blue Sphere Foundation. This is Sean Heinrichs. If you don't follow him on Instagram, you should. And Sean's career has been dedicated to trying to stop the illegal wildlife trade. So the team in SeaLegacy, there's 23 of us. The vast majority are people that are in the creative field. So we have people that are in technology, they're coding, they're designers, communicators, writers. We have a photo editor. We have 3 video editors. Everybody thinks that we're all marine biologists, but no, there's only 3 marine biologists in our team. And Candace, who is our lead, she manages all our relationships with other conservation organizations. She is the tentacles that we have out there in the conservation community to feel out where we can have an impact with our stories. And it's all about finding stories that are going to create an emotional connection, that are going to bring people into an issue, and then giving those people the opportunity to participate, and then showing them that together we can make a huge impact.
Talk to me more about an example of, because I know that there have been legislation that has been changed through some of the work that you've done. And so I think, like you said, like the importance of everybody has to not just look at pretty pictures, but take action. And so give us an example of a win.
Yeah, I think about our following as the power of the people. And when we find an issue, for example, we learned that in northern Norway, the government, and Norway, of course, you have to remember, is one of the wealthiest countries with the largest oil production in the world. But the government wanted to open the northern fjords for additional oil drilling. And when you go to these northern fjords, you see that it's a whale sanctuary because, again, the herring are coming in the winter and they're finding shelter in the fjords. And following the fish come the orcas, come the humpback whales. And you can find 1,000 orcas in these northern fjords. It's just beautiful. So when we learned that the government was thinking about starting seismic blasting to look for oil, a local conservation group reached out to us for help. And that's one of the keys. We always work with other conservation groups. Our highest aspiration is to shine a light on the work of other conservation organizations. And what we did was we created a Twitter storm. We asked the Prime Minister of Norway to please not drill in the northern fjords. And because we have so many dedicated followers, people that donate monthly to SeaLegacy by joining our Tide membership, we were able to, I think it was 112,000 tweets. I mean, it was just like this massive number of tweets. And I think a politician has no choice but to pay attention when so many people are clamoring for something. And sure enough, we helped create a win for the Northern Fjords of Norway.
That's incredible. Congratulations. And again, not just to you, but everybody that took action. It's amazing what, like you said, in adding one tweet on top of one tweet on top of 100,000 tweets, that's where it makes a difference, which is kind of important for all of us to be talking about and thinking about right now. The situation that we are in globally takes every single one of us to participate actively to keep everybody healthy and safe.
Yeah, and to prevent the next pandemic from happening.
Yes. So let's go back to the oceans.
Let's do that. Oh, my favorite.
Where are we going to go next, Cristina?
I love this picture.
Me too.
So this is again back to the Antarctic Peninsula. And what I would like to point out on this picture, I mean, we're looking at a couple of crab eater seals. And crab eater is a misnomer. When the whalers first started going to Antarctica a couple of 100 years ago, they thought that these seals ate crabs, when in fact they eat krill. And krill, of course, is a tiny little shrimp that looks like a crab, but it's not a crab. Anyway, the seals are sitting on an iceberg, and those dimples that you see on the ice tell me that iceberg flipped over. So that was the part that used to be underwater, and the dimples are created by the effect of the currents and the water and the tide on the ice. And then, these icebergs are super unstable, so every once in a while they'll flip over, and the underbelly now is exposed, and it's just like a sculpture. So beautiful.
It is like a sculpture, and it is truly beautiful. What are individuals able to do if the oceans is something that they are very concerned about, and they want to use their own imagery or create stories or what have you? Like, what do you recommend that people out there do and work on, and how do they go about feeling like they can make a difference?
Take, for example, Antarctica. This year is a very important year because there's proposals to create new marine protected areas around the Antarctic. And it's surprising because we all imagine that this remote continent of ice is protected and the land part is, but the ocean part around it, barely protected. So we are helping a number of other organizations galvanize action to actually create these marine protected areas. And where I need everybody's help is when we come out with our campaign in a few weeks, and when I ask you to tweet to a certain representative, the voting committee for these marine protected areas, just take a couple of seconds and add your name, add your signature, take a moment to share and follow what we're doing, because you could have a huge impact in creating the largest act of conservation in human history. If we can create these 3 marine protected areas, it would be such a hopeful moment for our planet, and you can be a part of it.
And so where do people make sure that they're following to make sure that they're involved in that?
It's a great question, Kenna. So please follow us on SeaLegacy. In the next few weeks, we're going to make a big announcement. We have something really big coming up. We're hoping that our entire following is going to join us in this new platform that we're going to be announcing and creating. It's one of the most exciting things that I've ever been a part of. And I can't wait to show you. So please keep following us at SeaLegacy, and you're going to be part of history.
Well, that's pretty impressive, Cristina. If you're saying now this is the thing that you're the most excited about with everything.
I'm telling you, so excited.
With everything that you've already done on behalf of, so many of us and on behalf of the planet. Let's keep going. I'm going to switch back over to some more images and see where we go next. Let's pause as well as you talk about this image, but talk about this concept of the split underwater, overwater photography.
Yes, let's talk about the creative aspects of photography. I I remember seeing my first ever split photograph by one of my huge idols, David Duvalier, and he's the master of the split. And for me, there's this voyeuristic aspect of it. You know, I want to know if you're not a diver, you're looking out at the ocean and you're wondering what's below. And that's what I want to reveal with the split photograph. So the technique is really difficult. You need a very large dome. You need to keep your dome very clean. You can see on the left side right there where the mountain meets the sky that there's a water slip, you know. It's very difficult to get a clean image. And if you're a photographer, you need to think about the difference in exposure. So there's daylight above, and underneath it's pretty green, dark water. So you need to illuminate the bottom, the part that's submerged, with strobes. And light, of course, travels very differently through water than it does through air. So you're having to navigate a lot of variables when you make a photograph like this. The most difficult aspect of it is you want the stuff that's on top of the surface to be in focus, as well as the part that's below. And that requires that you have a pretty big sensor on your camera so that you can push your ISO, so that you can have a larger f-stop, f16 at the very least. So it's complicated to do, but I've learned a lot. I've made so many mistakes. I have so many failed examples of split photography, but I'm getting better at it. And I love it when I can show something like this, you know. So from the boat, I could see this egg yolk jellyfish, and all I could see was, you know, these blob of white floating underneath. I jumped in the water and the current was carrying it, and I could see all its tentacles. The current was going fast, and I had to really kick hard to stay with it. But I just think it's beautiful when you can show the details of an animal like this that we don't normally see or recognize as something big and important and majestic.
Well, that's what I think is so amazing about it. The split images that you get this additional layer of perspective that just kind of takes you into another place. I want to give a shout out to Jonathan, who is watching on YouTube right now, and says, before this conversation, I was deciding what kind of vacation to take next, nature or history, museum, and art. And he says, I think you just helped me decide. So awesome.
Awesome.
One person at a time, right?
Nature every time. Yes.
Nature every time. Nature every time. Okay, I want to get in. If you're just joining us now, by the way, I'm your host, Kenna Klosterman, here, one of the hosts on Creative Live. I'm here with Cristina Mittermeier. We have our full day right now where we have just launched what we are calling CreativeLive TV. And this is, think about what you're seeing everybody doing really all over the globe. People are coming to you online, streaming from their living rooms, from their homes, from their kitchens, as we're all in this together, trying to help entertain and try to help educate people during this time. And so we here at Creative Live are broadcasting live to you, not just today, although today we are live from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'm giving Chase Jarvis a lunch break as most of the broadcasts are going with him. So now I'm coming to you from my home with National Geographic photographer Cristina Mittermeier, co-founder of SeaLegacy, Sony Artisan, and so much more. But you can be watching us again here on creativelive.com/TV. You can look below and see what the schedule is for the rest of the day as well. And so check that out. So let's come back to Ocean School, and where are we going to go next?
Before I talk to you about this photograph, Ken, I want to thank you because both you and Chase have been such big champions of my photography and the conservation work that I've done, not just with SeaLegacy. And I want to thank you that you allow me to come to your audience with my stories. It's such a big boost, and I love being part of this community.
Oh, well, we appreciate you. And gosh, I mean, I remember meeting you. It's been many years now when we did a special Sony week as part of Creative Live. And I mean, you've been with Sony
12 years
from the beginning.
Yes. And I love Sony. They're my family.
Exactly. Well, you are our family too.
Well, let me tell you about this picture. This is a polar bear, and I photographed this particular one in Russia. in Franz Josef Land, really remote, icy northern scapes where polar bears, for the most part, roam free. And, I think polar bears are one of those iconic animals that we all love. And more, we're all becoming concerned as the Arctic is becoming devoid of sea ice in the summer months. It becomes really hard for polar bears to hunt. And the thing that struck me the most about this pandemic and the fact that humans are sheltered at home, and so there's not so much travel and no industry, and it's that the emissions around the planet have really taken a dip, and animals are coming back everywhere. It feels like nature is getting a reprieve from humanity. And I just want all of us to reflect a little bit on the opportunity we have in front of us for how we're going to emerge after we are released from this quarantine and go back to our regular lives, to be gentler, kinder, to have nature more at the forefront of every decision we make. Because I don't think we're going to ever get another opportunity like this to demand from our legislators, the legislatures, that nature is protected. It is a planet out of balance that has allowed a virus to jump from animals to humans to create this pandemic. And the only way we can restore balance to nature is by protecting it.
Amen, Cristina. I want to also play a video for people. So one of the things that people are doing right now at home who might be photographers is I'm hearing a lot of people spend some time going through past images, right? Something that most of us who are photographers often feel behind on. And so you provided us with a video, short video telling people about the Ocean Photography Awards. So if you have images out there right now that you have taken from your travels, and there is just an incredible opportunity to be part of this awards contest that Cristina is a judge on. So let me play the video, and then we can talk a little bit more about it. All right, so Ocean Photography Awards. Tell us more.
It's amazing that so many people who want to help the ocean and help SeaLegacy bring to us opportunities like this. And the gentleman who started the Ocean Photography Awards, Will, I'm going to forget his last name, from Europe, he put this whole thing together for us. And he said, I want this to benefit storytelling, to benefit SeaLegacy. For every photographer that enters the competition, SeaLegacy gets a donation. It's just such an incredible amount of work that he has done at the service of the ocean, and I couldn't be more grateful. And by saying that, I want to invite everybody, of course, to enter your photographs to the competition. But also, if you have any skills as a creator, as a designer, as an artist, send me a direct message or send me an email at info@sealegacy.org, and maybe we can find a way for you to contribute to Ocean School as well.
I love it. I love it. Yes, thank you for that. We talked about making sure that people knew, like you said, that somebody is translating Ocean School every day into another language, and making drawings of the different oceans or images, what have you, for people. So again, that's info@SeaLegacy, and make sure that you are following that hashtag Ocean School. As well as @Mitty, Mitty, which is Cristina Mittermeier. Cristina, we are, like I said, we are up next. We are going to be heading, I'm going to be throwing it back over to Chase, who's going to be taking us then to New York City to have Andrew Scrivani join us. He has been doing something called Work From Home Cafe, and he is a food photographer. He's got classes that are coming up here on CreativeLive starting tomorrow, a new class, mobile photography. So he's going to be cooking and then photographing. So it's just our pleasure to be able to see what people are doing I saw what you were doing on Instagram with Ocean School, and said, come on this platform. We're curating, we're bringing you to people's living rooms, and so we're just so grateful to have you on and have this time with you and your incredible team. So
likewise, thank you so much, Kenna. Thank you, Chase, and good luck with a TV, CreativeLive TV. I'm going to be watching.
Okay, awesome. Have a great day. Thank you so much again. And everybody, I am going to sign off now. You'll probably see a little commercial roll, and then we'll be back to you live with Chase Jarvis, and we'll see you shortly then. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. Bye, Cristina. Thank you.
Bye, Kenna.